How to monetize your podcast. Welcome to Launch Your Podcast Like a Pro. My name is Midina Oyedele. So, in this particular part of the course, we want to look at how you are going to be making some dollars, some cash out of your podcast. So, first, how do podcasts make money? This is a legitimate question to ask yourself as you pour out your time and your resources and yourself into creating a show. You don't want to create and you have nothing to show for it. For whatever reason you have decided to start your show, maybe for impact, and I can tell you start adding for profit. So if you want to do this seriously, find a way to monetize your podcast. Okay, find a way to monetize your podcast content that you create, which will allow you to stay consistent long term. There are two main distinctions in how podcasts make money today. All right. So when combined together, they produce a steady revenue stream that can help you earn in income podcasting, and that is why we are in this part. So there are strategies, okay, and the strategies that are currently the most popular fall into direct monetization category and indirect monetization category. So, but we're going to look at the first part, which is the direct podcast monetization, which is when the show is the thing you are actually selling. The show you're producing is what you're selling. That is the direct podcast monetization, when you can profit from creating your own original content, repurpose it, and grant exclusive access to paying members. Okay, so you can see that this is all around the show. It is not an external source. So when the show on itself creates its own content, when the content you create can be repurposed, when you can actually maybe create a course in an audio format and grant your audience the private access, exclusive access to the audio that you have created and begin to make money from it. That is one of the ways. The next strategy on the other side is the indirect podcast monetization, which is when your podcast is used as a tool to sell other things. I think that's straight enough. When you use your podcast as a tool to sell all the merchandise, all the products, all the content, and that is indirect podcast monetization. So here your podcast becomes the vehicle to promote your product and promote sometimes other people's products and create demand among your listener. All right, so that is the second side of it, which is the indirect podcast monetization. Amidst all these, here are my favorite direct podcast monetization strategies that you can explore. Okay, choose one that fits best for your show and start making some money. The first one is to ask for donation. I do this a lot, so you can have it in form of like a call to action at the end of your show where you ask your audience to actually donate. So most time I ask my audience to buy me a coffee, and buy me a coffee, I just create a link through a payment platform where I just create the link and I add it to all my episodes, and in the episode or in the show I just tell my audience buy me a coffee. So at the end of the show, the audience we are actually able to click on the link on the description of the episode that I've added the link to, and they can buy me a coffee. So they can buy me coffee actually. Alright, so the simplest way to monetize a podcast is to ask people for money. Plenty of fans are happy to throw in a few dollars here and there to their favorite podcaster to ensure they continue to get great content. I mean, you can never tell, but they know the kind of value that they are getting, so they will be willing to throw in some dollars here and there for you. So when people ask us how to monetize a podcast, I mean, this is one of the things that you'll say. This is the first one that comes to mind, and I will always recommend that you do this. You can just add it up on your next episode. To avoid feeling slimming about this kind of self-promotion, keep your call to action authentic. Okay, make it real. They're already connected to you through your podcast, so just spice it up by just, you know what, you might want to hang out with me, and or you might want to help me continue this. Just make it as real as possible. Are you asking for donations so that you can spend more time creating the episode? I mean, let them connect with the story behind them donating to you. Tell your audience what the donation will do for you as you continue your journey as a podcast to give them great value. The second one is create paid membership tiers. Okay, once a new trend, paid membership tier have a token of a way for podcasters to make money, okay, from their show. With paid membership tier, listener can pay to access exclusive content, private Facebook groups, or podcast swag. While the best way to offer subscription podcast content used to be creating a paid platform account, now, today, in this 21st century right now, podcasters today have a lot of options, okay, many of which to provide a total control over how content is shared, accessed, and paid for, while avoiding, hefty fees that come with services like Patreon. Okay, so there are services that people used before, podcasters used before to actually get subscription, but now you can just create a value of content, valuable content that you want to be paid, and you create a Facebook group, and it's only those that pay that can access that Facebook group. Okay, so you can create a membership group for your listeners. You can access premium content aside what you offer on your show, and they get into the Facebook group, and now they pay to actually get in and get the value that you have to offer there. So you may want to consider this too. The third one is to sell sponsorship or hats. Okay, I get this a lot where I have people coming in and will talk on what they want me to do for them on my show, and I do that and they pay me for it. So it depends on what you have to offer. So sponsorship is the most common way to monetize a podcast. So aside from accepting donation, it is also the easiest way because you don't have to create or sell anything. All right, so you just have to set up a deal with a sponsor. Can be private, can be company, can be individuals or personal brand. You have probably had podcasters start your show or break in with something like this episode is brought to you by, okay, the company name or the sponsor's name. If you're looking for a dash dash dash, right, so you get the idea of what this one is about. So a sponsor paid you directly or indirectly, okay, through as a company or as a personal brand to actually sponsor a particular episode. So that's sponsorship, and it pays more, right? It pays more uh, depending on how many people listen to your show, because this is even what you're going to use as a selling point. As the number of people who listen to your show increases, so will your revenue increase, right? But that also means that it is tough way to make money if you don't have many listeners. So this is the caveat there. If you don't have many listeners, sponsors, because sponsors are driven by the size of your listeners. So generally you can charge for pre-roll or mid-roll or mention, okay, mid-roll during your episode, or pay more, promote the sponsor at both points if you are comfortable. So you either promote them at the beginning or at the end or in the middle of that particular episode. And next to that is to sell premium episodes. So you know your audience and you know what they like to listen to. And of course, they like to listen to your podcast. There is a good chance some of them will pay for premium version of your content. So all you have to do is to create some special recordings that are only available for purchase, and you might sell questions and answer with special guests. Okay, so you can have a special guest and you decide to record that particular show and you sell it. Early access to episodes that will be free one day, or ad free episode that they won't have to any ad on that particular episode. You can also decide to sell live stream episodes.